Reset and renewal are so key to longevity, to happiness, to contentment, to health and vitality. And a key is retreat. And what makes retreat is it's an immersive, sustained contact with the force of transformation. You can call that love, that force. You can call that compassion. You can call that grace. You don't have to even name it. But the thing is to make that contact and have it be sustained contact, immersive contact, long enough for something to transform. As I've continued to say and point out and more deeply experience in my own life and teachings, we're all the divine in drag. We're all the divine in costume. We're the source of creation, the creative power of life itself manifesting as these personalities and through these personalities, but still no less the creative power of life itself that creates galaxies and stars and supernovas and reabsorbs what it creates back into the source material. And that's what we are. And the more contact we have with this coherency, we start to let go of assuming we're just this particular person with this very set storyline that defines who we are forever. That's not the truth. Most of you watching this have had some sort of a transformative experience more than once in your life to even have you be interested in looking for material like this, let alone checking it out more than once, or seeking meditation or breath work or whatever it is you've selected to move the dial on happiness, to move the dial on resiliency and metabolizing challenges more quickly or even as they arise. Let's take a couple of deep breaths together. And as you let go of the exhale, have the feeling of exhaling tension and the energy of thinking itself down into the earth. 2 more. Really let go on the exhale, soften your soles and palms. 1 more good one. And let go. So I want to touch on some keys, some tips I've learned over the decades for maximizing the opportunity of being on retreat. Retreat it's an idea really. It doesn't have a set format, a set length, a set number of hours. You can be in retreat at any time, anywhere with practice. What are the elements of making it be retreat as opposed to just spacing out? Well, one is a clear intention. Why are you on retreat? What do you hope to engage with on that retreat? I don't like to use the word outcome because we can start chasing outcomes and then that creates tension and overthinking and missing the contact with the source of transformation, which is a felt experience, in favor of just being busy thinking and trying to figure out what to do next or who to talk to or what to do on the lunch break. So you can construct a retreat for yourself, and I really encourage putting this as part of your schedule, finding a way, even if it's just a half a day once a month. If you could do a full day once a week in silence, especially during a period when you want to make a breakthrough in your life and your own evolution, to take a day a week and be in complete silence. That means not texting or emailing or being on the phone or in conversation unless it's absolutely necessary for a critical task to communicate something. And then you do the minimum of communication that's clear. But beyond that, to be in silence. We spend so much energy, apparently the majority of our life force, talking and thinking, particularly talking. Having been in silence for extended periods of time, I can't recommend it highly enough. And some people are scared of silence. Why? Well, they haven't yet met their mind. They haven't befriended their mind. So they're concerned about being overwhelmed with thoughts that feel really bad, without realizing that we have a choice in the matter, that we can actually work with breath and softening. So clear intention for why am I on retreat? What's the intention and what would it feel like if I knew the intention had already fully materialized? What would I be feeling like when I imagine the intention has fully played out? Would I be feeling happy? Would I be feeling soft muscle tone in my body? Would I be feeling deeper, slower, easier breathing? Would I be feeling joy in easy and challenging interactions with the people in my life? Like, how would I really feel? And then I carry that feeling. Once I've dialed down into being clear about the feeling, I practice that feeling in the midst of any of the activities or periods of rest in my retreat. And definitely all the way leading up to the retreat, whether I'm traveling, I'm making a pilgrimage, which is a very, very powerful way to be on retreat, to have to travel some distance and be conscious and present with our intention all the way there. The Sanskrit is a yatra, a pilgrimage. And pilgrimage is a great tradition, a powerful, powerful transformative tradition around the world since time began. There's a tradition of making a pilgrimage all the way along the Ganges River, for example, or the Camino de Santiago, a famous Spanish pilgrimage from one part of Spain to another, where one is in prayer the entire time. And there are so many others, known and unknown. So clear intention, what would the feeling feel like if it had been fully manifested already? Practicing that feeling on the way to the retreat, which touches on the next thing. So we've talked about intention. What about preparation? How do you prepare? It's not just getting aware of what the weather patterns are where you're going to go for your retreat and making sure you have sufficient gear and journal or meditation cushion or whatever the things are to support the fullest experience of your practice. But what's the inner preparation? What can you be doing now and all the days leading up to when you're in the formal circumstance of the retreat? As I'm recording this, we're a few weeks out from a retreat with me called the Alchemy of Compassion at the Omega Institute in upstate New York. And I'm hopeful that all of the people who are planning to be there are already preparing the soil of the mind, the soil of the body, the soil of the subtle body to receive all that is possible in the circumstance of retreat. So preparing by spending several hours or one day each week until the retreat in silence to get comfortable with the beauty, the magnificence of interior silence. At first, when we get silent, just like sitting for meditation in the morning, perhaps the first thing you notice is more thoughts. Well, there's not more thoughts, it's just a part of your awareness. My awareness is quiet enough to notice the noise that's been there all along. And eventually, as I learn to continue to relax the body and lengthen and slow my exhales, the mind stream slows down. And in the circumstance of a retreat longer than a day or longer than a few hours for sure, that accumulates, that interior silence grows if we don't distract ourselves from it. So how are you preparing to be on retreat? Perhaps you even make a collage of that feeling we talked about, of the intention. You have your clear intention. What would it feel like if it was manifested? Collage that visually, and then put that in a prominent place and sit and be with it throughout each day to be more viscerally connected to that feeling. The laws of alchemy are at play here. Whatever we're giving the most attention to, we're nourishing, for better or worse. So preparing for retreat is not to wait until the retreat officially begins on day one, signing in and finding your chair, but it's to begin the moment you tell yourself you're going to go, to start preparing. And what happens on retreat is what can happen in profound meditation experiences. We can have really powerful peak experiences, peak states that show us what's possible. When we return home or come out of our silence, if you're doing a retreat at home, we may find, oh, that peak state didn't stick, but we can still reference it. You see, it gives us a point of view of where to focus and how we might best practice to turn that peak state into a stage we're living from. You know, as opposed to something we're visiting like a vacation once in a while, it becomes the floor underneath our feet. I've seen this happen again and again in my own life and in my serious students' lives. Turning peak states into stages we're living from. And oh man, it's worth every ounce of practice. So intention and preparation. Then planning to really check in with yourself at the retreat. We can all have our own little hidden ways or not so hidden ways of distracting ourselves from really dropping into the full experience of contact, interior contact with the source of grace on retreat. Maybe that's getting the idea, oh, I should take some more photos. This is such a neat place. There's such beautiful things I want to show everybody back at home. Without realizing we're distracting ourselves from the interior silence, from really dropping in and letting it have us, letting it shift our awareness. Most of my retreats so far are about 5 days and nights. And while I'd like them to be much longer, like 10 days or even a month at some point, 5 days is a significant amount of time to make big shifts, big inner leaps, to see patterns. For example, this retreat, Alchemy of Compassion, is an opportunity to see so many ways we interact with ourselves and others, and to see what to upgrade, what to shift, what to let go of. And to continue to detangle the difference between empathy and compassion. Remember, empathy activates the pain center in the body. Compassion activates the pleasure center in the body. Compassion stimulates the flow of oxytocin, relating, which stimulates the flow of dopamine, reward in the brain, which stimulates the flow of serotonin, which helps balance mood. All wonderful things. So to actually be able to discern what compassion feels like, distinct from empathizing or over-empathizing with a person, a country, a circumstance, is very, very beneficial. And then as you catch hold of just a feeling for what compassion is, then you can reference it when you're meditating, doing breathing practices, doing partnered practices on the retreat, being on your own, walking around the gardens, or journaling. You start to reference this compassion as well as the feeling of your intention already fully manifested. Is this making sense? You might want to re-watch this, especially the next time you're going to go on a retreat, or if you're preparing for this upcoming retreat. You might want to watch this a couple of times and make notes for yourself. Really listen intuitively. What is your best preparation? And then the integration. How will you bring the insights? Now you don't yet know where they are, what they are, because you haven't had them yet, but you know you well enough to know some things. How will you support yourself to integrate any insights and experiences that open on the retreat when you get back to your home, back to your job? Will it be through things you see visually that you can put up around your house or your office? Will it be practices that you're going to schedule time for and keep them like valuable appointments? Will you look into being supported by some sort of a facilitator, one-on-one or in groups when you're back at home, to continue to nourish the insights to fully flower and become embodied? So you see, we've got a full gamut. We've got before the retreat, why am I going on retreat? What do I want to get out of retreat? Who do I want to be when I come back from retreat? How will I prepare? How am I preparing? How will I be on the retreat and support myself to fully maximize the opportunity of retreat without grasping, clinging, or chasing? And how will I integrate the retreat? So I think that's a good place to leave it for now. And you can also use this same understanding for a singular practice of meditation. Why am I going to meditate? What do I want to get out of the meditation? What would it feel like if I had already embodied that? How will I support myself to stay with the meditation without grasping, clinging, or chasing? And how will I support myself to integrate? That might mean coming out gently, coming out of the retreat gently when it comes to retreat. Maybe that means spending an extra day or so in the environment where the retreat is being held and not rushing to an airplane or train or an automobile. Having that buffer of time if it's possible. And if it's not possible to have a physical buffer of time, how can you support yourself with your breath, maybe an essential oil that you wear or carry to smell, or something in your pocket that is evocative and supportive of your chosen intention? Choose to explore being on retreat more often. It is a profound gift that you give not only to yourself, but everyone with whom you're connected. Through mirror neurons, people feel what we're feeling. So this business of being the change we wish to see in the world starts with us making contact with the source of grace within ever more regularly, until it's a place we no longer need to make contact with, but it becomes our sense of self, our reference for meeting life. All right, enjoy yourself. I look forward to seeing you on retreat very, very soon. It's my favorite teaching activity.